There is nothing more dangerous than believing a lie. A lie can shape your decisions, control your emotions, and lead you into unnecessary pain. And one of the greatest lies the enemy whispers is this: he's with someone new, and that means you were not enough. But let me tell you something that is a lie. The end of a relationship is not the end of your value. A person walking out of your life does not decrease your worth. You are not defined by who stays or who leaves. If someone has moved on, it is not a reflection of your inadequacy. It is a revelation of their season. People do not always leave because something was wrong with you. Sometimes they leave because they never truly saw you. And if someone fails to see your worth, that does not mean you have none. A diamond does not lose its value because someone prefers glass. There is a dangerous belief that has trapped too many people in a cycle of pain, regret, and self-doubt, the idea that your value is determined by who chooses to stay in your life. But that is a lie. People come and people go. Seasons change, and so do relationships. But the mistake we make is allowing the presence or absence of a person to dictate how we see ourselves. When someone walks away, we start questioning everything. Was I not enough? Did I do something wrong? Am I not worthy of love? And we allow those questions to form the foundation of our identity. But hear me clearly, your value does not decrease because someone fails to recognize it. A diamond does not lose its worth because someone prefers a stone. A masterpiece does not lose its significance because someone does not understand its beauty. Your worth is not up for debate, and it is not subject to the opinions of people who were never assigned to your destiny. The problem is that we have been conditioned to believe that love, acceptance, and validation come from others. From childhood, we are taught to seek approval, to desire acceptance, to measure our worth by how others respond to us. And so when someone leaves, whether it is a friend, a relationship, or someone we trusted, we internalize that departure as proof that we were not enough. But that is a deception, because the truth is this: people do not determine your value. If someone walks away from you, it does not mean you were lacking. It simply means they were not part of your next season. Just because they could not see your worth does not mean you have none. Some people will only appreciate something when they lose it. Some people will only recognize value when they no longer have access to it. But you cannot wait for someone to recognize your worth before you believe in it yourself. Imagine a person finding a rare, priceless artifact, but treating it like a common stone because they do not know its true value. That does not make the artifact worthless. It simply means the wrong person was holding it. And this is what happens in life. Sometimes people mishandle what they do not understand. They overlook what they are not ready for. They walk away from what they do not appreciate. But that does not change the value of what they left behind. You must stop believing that someone's departure is proof of your deficiency. If they left, it was their choice, but that choice does not define you. Too many people are broken today, not because they are truly lacking, but because they have been convinced that someone else's rejection is a verdict on their worth. But let me tell you something: people can only reject you when you give them the power to define you. No one has the authority to determine who you are except the one who created you. And if your creator says you are valuable, if he says you are fearfully and wonderfully made, if he says you were formed with purpose, then it does not matter who stays or who leaves, you are still enough. You must learn to separate who you are from what people do. People are unpredictable. Their emotions change. Their priorities shift. Their desires evolve. And sometimes people leave not because you were not enough, because their journey was never meant to align with yours forever. Do not waste time chasing after what was never meant to stay. Instead, focus on becoming. Focus on growing into the person you were designed to be. Because here is the truth: the right people will recognize your value. The right people will appreciate who you are. The right people will stay not because you have to convince them, but because they see in you what was always there. So lift your head. Do not measure yourself by who left. Do not let a person's decision redefine what has already been established. You are valuable, you are enough, and nothing, absolutely nothing, can change that. Rejection is one of the most painful experiences a person can go through. It cuts deep, leaving wounds that make people question their worth, their purpose, and even their future. But rejection is not a reflection of your value, it is a redirection of your path. The problem is not that you were not enough, The problem is that we often try to fit into places that were never meant for us. Too many people are living in sorrow, not because they lack anything, but because they have been conditioned to believe that rejection means failure. But rejection is not failure, it is revelation. It reveals who is truly meant to walk with you. It reveals who values you for who you are. It reveals the doors that were never meant to be entered in the first place. If you begin to see rejection as a redirection, you will stop mourning what left and start preparing for what's ahead. When a door closes, it does not mean the journey is over. It simply means that route was never the right one. When people walk away, it does not mean you are unworthy. It means they were not assigned to your destiny. But if you live your life trying to force relationships that are no longer meant for you, you will only delay your own progress. Some of you are crying over doors that were locked for your protection. You are frustrated because you wanted something so badly, but you did not realize that if you had walked through that door, it would have led to destruction. Have you ever looked back on something you once wanted so desperately and realized later that losing it was the best thing that ever happened to you? That is because rejection is not the end, it is often the beginning of something greater. But the key is how you respond to it. You can allow rejection to break you, or you can allow it to build you. You can use it as a reason to give up, or you can use it as a stepping stone to elevate to the next level. The truth is, rejection does not change your value, it only changes your direction. A bird does not lose its ability to fly just because someone locks a cage. It simply finds another way to spread its wings. And in the same way, when one path is blocked, it is not assigned to stop, it is assigned to reroute. But the reason rejection hurts so much is because we place our identity in people, jobs, and relationships rather than in purpose. When people leave, we feel lost because we had tied our worth to them. When an opportunity is taken away, we feel defeated because we built our confidence on external validation. But when you know who you are, rejection does not shake you, it simply redirects you. You must understand that rejection is not always about you. Sometimes people leave because they are on their own journey of discovery. Sometimes doors close because they were never meant to sustain you. And sometimes rejection happens not because you were not good enough, but because something greater is ahead. You must refuse to allow rejection to make you bitter. Too many people allow one rejection to shape their entire mindset. They close their hearts. They stop believing, they stop dreaming, and they allow one closed door to convince them that every door will remain closed. But that is a lie. Just because one person rejected you does not mean you are unlovable. Just because one opportunity passed you by does not mean there is not a greater one waiting for you. The people who belong in your life will recognize your worth. The doors that are meant for you will open without force. The opportunities that align with your destiny will not require you to beg for acceptance. You do not need to chase people, force relationships, or convince anyone of your value. What is truly yours cannot be taken away, and what is not meant for you will never last. So the next time rejection comes, do not ask, what did I do wrong? Instead, ask, what is this trying to teach me? Do not waste time looking back at what walked away. Instead, lift your head, walk forward, and trust that what is ahead of you is greater than what is behind you. One of the greatest lies that people believe after a breakup or a lost connection is this: if they moved on, it must mean I wasn't enough. That is a dangerous thought because it plants a seed of insecurity, doubt, and self-blame. But let me tell you the truth, just because someone is with someone new does not mean you are not enough. Their decision to move on is not a reflection of your worth, but a revelation of their own choices. Too often, we look at someone else's actions and allow them to define our value. We see them with someone new, smiling, happy, and moving forward, and we assume that their happiness means we were the problem. We start replaying every conversation, every moment, analyzing where we might have fallen short, what we could have done differently, how we could have made them stay. But the truth is, their choice to be with someone new is not proof of your inadequacy. It is simply evidence that they were never the right fit for your destiny. People make decisions based on where they are, not always based on what is best for them. Some people leave because they are searching for something that even they do not understand. Some people move on quickly because they do not know how to process loss, so they replace rather than reflect. Some people chase after something new, not because it is better, but because they are running from their own unresolved issues. And if you attach your identity to their decision, you will spend your life feeling unworthy based on someone else's inability to recognize your value. Your worth does not decrease because someone chooses to be with someone else. If a person decides to move on, that is their journey, but it does not mean you were not enough. It simply means they were not meant to be part of your next season. You cannot make someone see your value if they are determined to look elsewhere. You cannot force someone to appreciate your presence when they have already decided to walk away. But what you can do is recognize that their choice does not define you. Imagine walking into a store full of priceless, handcrafted watches. One customer walks in, looks around, and leaves without buying anything. Does that mean the watches lost their value? No. It simply means that person was not the right buyer. The watches remain valuable regardless of who chooses to purchase them. And in the same way, your worth remains intact regardless of who stays or who leaves. Do not allow someone's decision to move on to convince you that you were the problem. You are not placed on this earth to convince anyone of your worth. You do not need to compete for attention, beg for love, or compare yourself to the person they are with now. What is meant for you will recognize you. What is designed for you will stay without force. You are not in a competition, and you do not have to prove yourself to anyone. One of the greatest mistakes you can make is trying to validate yourself through someone else's decisions. If you live seeking approval, you will always be controlled by who accepts or rejects you. But when you know who you are, when you are confident in your purpose, when you recognize that your worth is not tied to temporary relationships, you will walk in freedom. You will no longer be disturbed by who moves on because you will understand that their departure was a part of your preparation. You must stop looking at someone else's relationship and measuring your own value against it. Some people appear happy on the outside but are empty on the inside. Some people rush into something new because they are afraid to be alone, not because they have found something better. And even if they believe they have found someone more compatible, that does not mean you were not enough. It simply means they were not assigned to your journey. Your future is not tied to the one who left. Your purpose is not connected to the one who moved on. And your value is not determined by someone else's decision to be with someone new. Do not waste time questioning your worth based on their choices. Instead, invest in yourself. Grow, evolve, heal, and prepare for what is truly meant for you. Because when the right person, the right opportunity, and the right season comes, you will realize that everything that left was only making room for something greater. One of the greatest mistakes people make is attaching their identity to temporary relationships. They define themselves by who they are with, what others think of them, and how people treat them. But when your identity is tied to something that can change, you will always be at risk of losing yourself. People come and go. Seasons shift. Feelings fade. And if your sense of self is built on something that is not permanent, then every time someone leaves, a part of you leaves with them. The reason so many people struggle after a relationship ends is not just because they lost the other person, it is because they lost themselves in the process. They gave so much of their identity to that relationship that they no longer know who they are without it. They defined their worth by someone else's attention, their happiness by someone else's presence, and their security by someone else's approval. But when that person left, they were left empty, confused, and searching for meaning. This is why you cannot attach your identity to people. Because people change. People make mistakes. People leave. And if your self-worth is tied to them, then every time they shift, your confidence will crumble. You were not created to be defined by human relationships. You were created with an identity that is independent of who stays or who walks away. The danger of attaching your identity to people is that you start to compromise who you are just to keep them. You lower your standards to be accepted. You silence your voice to avoid conflict. You shrink yourself so they will not leave. But in the process, you lose sight of your true self. And when they eventually walk away, you are left trying to rebuild an identity that was never supposed to be dependent on them in the first place. You must understand that you are more than someone's choice to love you. You are more than someone's decision to stay or go. Your identity is not found in their validation. It is found in the unshakable truth of who you were created to be. No relationship, no friendship, no human connection should ever hold the power to define your worth. Too many people live seeking approval, constantly needing others to affirm them. But when you live for approval, you will always be controlled by it. You will adjust who you are just to be accepted. You will live in fear of rejection. making decisions based on who you think will stay rather than on what is right for you. But the moment you stop looking to people for validation, you will start walking in true confidence. If someone chooses to leave your life, that does not change who you are. If someone moves on, that does not make you less valuable. If someone fails to recognize your worth, that does not mean you do not have any. Their actions are a reflection of their choices, not a definition of your identity. You must know your value apart from what anyone else says or does. Imagine a tree planted by the water. Its roots go deep and it is strong, unshaken by the wind. Now imagine a leaf that is blown away with every passing breeze. Too many people live like the leaf carried away by every opinion, defined by every relationship, shaken by every loss. But you were meant to be like the tree, rooted, unmovable, standing firm no matter what happens around you. When you understand your worth, you stop chasing people. You stop begging to be chosen. You stop needing constant affirmation to feel secure. You walk with confidence, knowing that the right people will recognize your value and the wrong ones will remove themselves. And when they leave, you do not lose yourself. You remain whole, complete, and grounded in purpose. You must detach your identity from people and attach it to something greater. Because if your identity is based on something eternal, it will never be shaken by something temporary. You are not who people say you are who you were created to be. And that truth will never change. One of the greatest lies that people believe is that what left their life was supposed to complete them. They think that if a person had stayed, if an opportunity had worked out, or if things had gone the way they planned, then they would have been whole, fulfilled, and happy. But that is a deception. What left your life was never meant to complete your destiny. If it was necessary for your purpose, it would have stayed. If it was a part of your future, it would not have walked away. Too often we hold on to things and people that were only meant to be temporary. We cry over closed doors, broken relationships, and missed opportunities, believing that we lost something essential. But the truth is, nothing that is truly meant for you can ever be taken away. If it left, it served its purpose. If it walked away, it was never assigned to your future. But because we attach ourselves so deeply to what is familiar, we struggle to let go. We fight to hold on to what is already gone, refusing to see that its absence is actually making room for something greater. Sometimes, the things we think we need are the very things that would have delayed our destiny. Sometimes, the people we wanted to stay are the very ones who would have hindered our growth. But because we cannot see the full picture, we mourn losses that were actually divine redirections. We think we are being abandoned when in reality we are being positioned. Imagine a seed in the ground. It is buried, covered in darkness, and seemingly forgotten. But in that very place of isolation, it begins to grow. The soil is not its enemy, it is its preparation. And the same is true for you. What you think was meant to break you was actually preparing you. What you thought you needed was actually limiting you. What you were crying over was never designed to complete you, it was only part of your journey. Too many people live stuck in the past, constantly looking back at what they lost, instead of focusing on where they are going. They spend years trying to understand why someone left, why an opportunity passed them by, why things did not work out the way they imagined. But you will never step into your future while holding on to your past. You will never walk in purpose while clinging to what was. If something was truly meant to be part of your destiny, nothing could have removed it. And if it was removed, then it was never meant to stay. The reason some people struggle with moving forward is because they believe they needed what they lost. They believe that if that person had stayed, they would be happy. If that job had worked out, they would be successful. If that door had opened, they would have reached their full potential. But the truth is, nothing external was ever meant to complete you. No relationship, no opportunity, no position was designed to define your worth. You were already created with everything you need to fulfill your destiny. When you understand this, you stop chasing after what is gone. You stop begging people to stay. You stop mourning what has already served its time in your life. Instead, you shift your focus. You begin to see that every loss was actually a lesson. Every departure was actually direction. And every closed door was actually an open path to something better. You must let go of the belief that your fulfillment was tied to what left. You are not incomplete because someone walked away. You are not missing anything because a door closed. You are still whole, still valuable, and still on the path to your destiny. The only thing standing between you and your future is your willingness to stop looking back. What left your life was never meant to complete you. If it was necessary for your purpose, it would have remained. If it was essential for your destiny, it could not have been taken away. Stop mourning what is gone and start embracing what is ahead. Because the moment you let go of what was, you will finally be free to step into what is meant to be. One of the greatest mistakes people make is believing that someone else holds the key to their happiness. They convince themselves that if they could just get that person back, if they could just fix that relationship, if they could just recreate the past, then they would finally feel whole again. But that is a lie. No person was ever meant to be the source of your happiness. No relationship, no human connection, no external validation can fill a space that only inner peace and purpose were meant to occupy. The problem is not that they left. The problem is that you gave them too much power over your emotions. You allowed their presence to define your joy, and now that they are gone, you feel empty. But the truth is, if your happiness was tied to them, then it was never real happiness, it was dependency. It was an illusion of fulfillment that crumbled the moment they walked away. Too often, people place their joy in the hands of someone else only to be devastated when that person fails them. But people are not perfect. They change. They make mistakes. They leave. And if your peace is built on their presence, then your peace will always be unstable. But real happiness is not something that another person can give or take away. It is something that must come from within. You must understand that happiness is a choice, not a condition. It is not something you receive when everything in life is perfect. It is something you cultivate, something you build, something you decide to walk in regardless of circumstances. Too many people delay their joy waiting for the perfect situation, the right person, the ideal moment before they allow themselves to be happy. But what if that moment never comes? What if the thing you are waiting for is not what you actually need? If you keep believing that your happiness is in someone else's hands, then you will always be at their mercy. If they stay, you are happy. If they leave, you are miserable. If they love you, you feel worthy. If they reject you, you feel broken. But that is not living, that is surviving. That is allowing other people to dictate your emotions instead of taking responsibility for your own peace. There is a difference between experiencing sadness and living in bondage to it. It is natural to grieve when someone leaves. It is normal to feel pain after loss. But you cannot allow temporary emotions to shape your permanent mindset. You cannot let one broken relationship convince you that your life is over. You cannot let one disappointment rob you of the joy that is still available to you. The truth is, happiness is not found in another person, it is found in purpose. It is found in growth. It is found in becoming the person you were created to be. And the moment you stop looking for joy in others and start developing it within yourself, you will realize that no one has the power to take it away. Some people have spent years chasing happiness in relationships that were never meant to sustain them. They have tried to force love, manipulate situations, and hold on to people who were never designed to complete them. But happiness does not come from chasing, it comes from being. It comes from knowing who you are, understanding your worth, and walking in confidence no matter who stays or who leaves. When you stop depending on others for your joy, you become free. Free from the fear of rejection. Free from the need for validation. Free from the weight of past relationships that no longer serve you. And in that freedom, you discover happiness that is not controlled by external circumstances. The person who left is not the source of your joy. The relationship that ended is not the foundation of your peace. You do not need them to come back in order to be happy. You do not need to fix the past in order to find fulfillment. Everything you need is already within you. Stop looking for happiness in people who were never meant to carry that responsibility. Stop delaying your joy, waiting for someone else to give you permission to live again. Your happiness is not in their hands, it is in yours. And the moment you realize that, you will walk in a peace that nothing and no one can take away. The greatest mistake people make after a painful experience is allowing it to define their future. They assume that because one person hurt them, everyone will. That because one relationship failed, love is no longer meant for them. That because someone walked away, they will never find true connection again. But that is a deception. One experience does not determine your destiny. One person's inability to see your worth does not mean you are unworthy. One failed relationship does not mean you are incapable of love. Too many people allow past wounds to shape their expectations for the future. They build walls around their hearts, thinking they are protecting themselves from more pain, when in reality, they are only blocking themselves from real joy. They make vows in their hearts: I will never trust again. I will never love again. I will never let anyone get close to me again, ... But these vows are not signs of strength. They are signs of fear. They are the result of pain that was never healed, disappointment that was never processed, and self-worth that was never restored. When you let fear shape your decisions, you begin to sabotage your own future. You push away people who genuinely care. You reject opportunities that could bring joy. You settle for a life of isolation, convincing yourself that you are safer alone. But the truth is, you were never designed to live in fear. You were never meant to carry the weight of past pain into new beginnings. Healing is a choice. It does not happen automatically. Time alone does not heal wounds. What you do with that time determines whether you heal or stay broken. Some people live 10 years after a heartbreak, but they are just as wounded as the day it happened because they never dealt with the pain. They never confronted the lies they believed about themselves. They never did the inner work to grow beyond the experience. Healing requires intentionality. It requires you to let go of the false beliefs that were formed in your pain. It requires you to stop seeing yourself through the lens of rejection and start seeing yourself through the lens of purpose. It requires you to understand that your value was never based on who stayed or who left. When you embrace healing, you step into freedom. You no longer live guarded, expecting the worst. You no longer sabotage good things because of past experiences. You no longer allow temporary pain to create permanent fear. But healing does not mean you forget. It does not mean you pretend the past did not happen. It means you learn, you grow, you take the lessons and use them to make wiser choices. You recognize patterns and break cycles. You build discernment instead of bitterness. Healing does not make you blind to the reality of human nature, but it allows you to move forward without being bound by fear. Some people hold on to pain because they think it protects them. They think if they remember the hurt, they will avoid being hurt again. But that is not how protection works. True wisdom is not in holding on to pain, it is in learning from it and letting it go. When you heal, you do not lose your ability to see red flags, but you also do not assume that every person is a threat. You are able to discern without being defensive, to love without fear, and to trust without losing yourself. You cannot walk into your future while holding on to past pain. You cannot embrace love while carrying the weight of old wounds. You cannot receive what is meant for you if your hands are still full of what broke you. At some point, you have to decide, will I let my past define me or will I heal and move forward? The person who hurt you does not have the power to control your future unless you allow them to. The pain you experience does not have to dictate the rest of your life unless you choose to stay in it. Healing is available. Wholeness is possible. Love is still real, but it is up to you to receive it. Let go of the past. Release the fear. Do the inner work to heal, because what is ahead of you is far greater than anything you have lost. Life is too precious to waste mourning what was never meant to stay. Too many people live trapped in their past, defining their worth by who left, allowing pain to shape their future, and searching for happiness in people who were never meant to complete them. But today you have a choice. A choice to stop chasing what is gone. A choice to stop believing the lies that tell you you're not enough. A choice to stand firm in your identity, embrace your healing, and walk boldly into the future that is waiting for you. You are not broken beyond repair. You are not defined by rejection. You are not limited by past pain. You are valuable, complete, and capable of becoming everything you were created to be. The right people will recognize your worth. The right opportunities will align with your purpose. The right season will bring restoration, but only if you are willing to let go of what was and embrace what is ahead. Do not let fear keep you from love. Do not let pain rob you of joy. Do not let one chapter define your entire story. Your best days are not behind you, they are in front of you. And the moment you choose to heal, to grow, and to believe in what is possible, you will step into a life that is greater than anything you thought you lost. Good luck on your journey, and may you find the strength to move forward with confidence, peace, and joy. Thank you.